Distribution provided by Cloud Sigma, the cloud that adapts to you. Visit cloudsigma.com/thisweekin for a free $200 credit.
Today's episode of This Week in Startups is brought to you by Sourcebits. Visit sourcebits.com to begin your mobile app development journey. And by SnapTerms, online legal protection made simple. Visit snapterms.com and enter the code TWiST to receive a free NDA with every order.
Hey everybody, it is 2013 and we have our first episode of This Week in Startups, the first episode of the year. Everybody's favorite, James Altucher, is here. He's a great blogger and thinker about startups and the economy and technology. He's going to bring it, as he always does on the show. And Ben Parr is finally on the show. You've probably heard Ben, serial entrepreneur, now has the DominateFund, another one of these angel funds gone wild. And he's got a lot to say, and he's going to be investing in a bunch of stuff. So I'm very interested to hear what he's got going on. And of course, Sassy Kieran Kalia, and we'll read the news. Stick with us.
That's what it's all about, man. They said money is the root of all evil. What? Funny how it feeds my people. We ain't gonna live like equals until we get the money, spend the money, and defeat you. Yeah. Money is the root of all evil. What? Funny how it feeds my people. Yeah. We ain't gonna live like equals until we get the money, spend the money, and defeat you.
Hey everybody, it's 2013 and it's time for the first episode of This Week in Startups. This is our last year of programming. Yes, it's a new announcement. This will be the last year we're doing This Week in Startups, so enjoy it. We've got 100 episodes or so left, 2013, big announcement, the last year of the show. It's not true. I just wanted to see if whatever. I think Karen was like, thank God. Booking the show is so goddamn hard. It's hard to book the show, isn't it?
It's hard because of your schedule, too, you know.
Yeah, my schedule gets busier and busier, and the number of shows has increased. And so I just said we're going to keep it to 2 shows a week. The 3 shows is killing me.
More than
I want to narrow it down to 2 shows a week, and that's 100 episodes. So that's going to be a lot of Calacanis. It's a lot of Calacanis for me, frankly. I don't know, who are you people that you want to hear 100 hours of me a year? You're masochists. Anyway, listen, it's been a great couple of years. I had a great break. I was in Hawaii for 10 days. Longest vacation of my life.
Tough, Hawaii.
Longest vacation of my adult life, I realized. I had a couple of business trips that were over 10 days, like to Asia and stuff like that. But really, it's like 10 days. It was absolutely wonderful to hang out with my family. And got a little bit of writing in. So you had a nice holiday, I take it?
I did.
Where did you go?
I went to North Carolina.
Awesome. And somebody else here went to North Carolina, I think, too. And I think Dallas from Mahalo/Inside.com went to there. Everybody's asking me what I'm going to do with Inside.com, and I will let you know when I figure it out. But follow at Inside for now, and a couple of other housekeeping. Last month we're talking about how to level up the show, level up everything we're doing, and to level up, you got to focus. So we've done a couple of focus things. One was we're not going to try to launch 1 million This Week in shows anymore. We're narrowing down, and we're just going to focus on my show, and of course Kevin Pollak's doing his show independently, although we're supporting it still, like with the studio and stuff like that. But This Week in Startups is getting really focused, and one of the things we wanted to do was to help more and meet the fans. So every month we're doing a live show. There's another crazy, stupid idea I came up with.
More work.
It's a stupid idea, but you know what? The first one went really well.
It was awesome.
And so it's more work, another boneheaded idea from me, but it actually was quite wonderful to meet the fans.
Well, I also have to say, wasn't it somebody who suggested this when you said, I need something else to get excited about?
Yeah.
And said, why don't you do a live show? Somebody who tweeted at you, I think.
Somebody did say do a live show?
I don't remember who it was.
Yeah. So anyway, I just, I get a little bit bored, and I was like, I feel like doing something a little bit more engaging, and so we did it last time with Jeff Clavier, and he was such a great interview. And I didn't know what to expect from Jeff. He's a French guy. French guys are a little weird.
He was open.
Loic and Jeff Clavier. The French guys, you never know what you're going to get. That can be, the French are very, what's that? Je ne sais quoi, it's kind of hard to, anyway, know what you're going to get there. But boy, did he bring it.
He did.
Honest.
Very honest.
Informative, educational. I learned a lot. The audience loved it. And boy, I'm so proud of my audience. Such great questions. I have a very smart audience. That's one of the things I'm most proud of, is that you guys are so intelligent, mainly from listening to me on the show for 3 years. No, you guys are super smart. Like, it's a really good, smart group of people. They know how to... I'm just shocked that, at a live event, people actually formulated a question that was intelligent, relevant, and not self-promotional.
Well, you were very clear before they asked questions that you
To
didn't want
not be
that.
self. This is my favorite event question. Hi, Mark Andreessen. You've had an amazing career. Let me tell you about my incredibly boring business idea. And then will you please validate it in front of everybody so that I can try to get a meeting with you after the event? Or how about this one? Hi, I'm an attorney, and I've been in practice for 15 years, and I provide the lowest, most affordable rates, and I think a lot of people need to be worried about this regulation. And so I'd just like you to comment on my ability to provide legal services for startups who are in this very audience. I mean, it's just like kill yourself. That's the first kill yourself of 2013. So when don't be that guy in the audience. Don't be that guy in the audience at a conference who asks a question about yourself. And if you are at a conference and somebody does that, just like roll your eyes and be like, or hiss a little bit, like, or just be like, just like let out. This is what everybody should do at an
Groan.
event. That's it. Thank you, Karen. Everybody at events from now on, when somebody,
What a douche.
just groan and be like, douche. It's so douchey to do that. But, my audience, not douchey at all. They ask very relevant questions. So we're going to do it again this Friday, next Friday. Today's Friday. A week from today. January 11th. Go to twistlive2.eventbrite.com. Pull up my website there. Pull up my computer. There you go. Thank you. And who's going to be the Fireside Chat? Phil Libin. I mean, everybody loves Evernote. It's going to be great. And I want to thank my friends at RocketSpace for putting on a good show. It was classy. You guys had the nice tap beer. People like that. You had the San Pellegrino sodas with the foil wrappers. So, like you get Diet Coke like this or Coke Zero. And, like you're always worried that the can's been exposed and some cats ran across it in the factory and pissed on it or something disgusting like that.
That's what you think about?
I think about that. I have OCD about dirty. The top of cans are dirty and then people put their mouths to it. It's like, some guy went to the bathroom, didn't wash after going to the bathroom, and then put your sodas on the thing, and put his finger right there. What do you think's on his finger? It's disgusting. Not at RocketSpace. Right now, RocketSpace is like, why did we even sponsor this? No, they put out cheese and had the little flags on the cheese.
It was lovely.
It was lovely. And they spent the money on the San Pellegrino sodas. I love that. I love that. I love details of excellence. And so we've raised the price. It's going to be very expensive. Look at this. I'm raising prices. We charged $1 per ticket to go to see Jeff Clavier. Phil, no offense, Jeff, but I think Phil's going to bring it, so we've decided to raise the price to $2. That's right, $2 to go see this. And there's 100 tickets. I think most of them are gone already, but I'm not tweeting this on purpose because I want people who watch the show to get the first shot of the tickets. 4 to 5 o'clock. We hang out. We have appetizers and drinks. And listen, I'm there. I'm available. I sit there and hang out with everybody.
You talk to a lot of people
I
last
talk
time.
to everybody. These are my fans. I love my fans. And by the way, if you're a fan of the show, don't do the weird thing and like just stare at me at an airport. Like some guy was doing like staring at me for like a while, and he's like, actually it wasn't at the airport. It was at I was at the bar at the hotel. He's like, I know you. Like, but this is actually staring at me for like, you can tell when somebody's staring.
Of course.
He goes, I know you. And I was like, yeah. And you're in the internet business. He goes, yeah. He goes, oh yeah, This Week in Startups. I was like, yeah, just come up and say hi. Don't be creepy. Just come up and say hi. And hey, I watch the show. I love the show, and that's it. Or come up and say the show sucks. I don't care. 5 to 6, I do the Fireside Chat, and then 6 to 7, we have the post-event cocktails, and then at 7, I try to leave and go to dinner with my team, and then all the stragglers come and say, can we go to dinner with you? And I say, of course, sure, let's all go to dinner. And so we might have a straggler dinner afterwards.
Well, we still got to make the last flight back to L.A.
And we made the last flight. That was good. That was like a military operation. I got home in time to take my daughter to breakfast the next day. Hey, Sourcebits, thanks a lot for sponsoring the program. And as we promised, if you have Sourcebits build your app, then you get to come on the show and show it. And that's happened a couple of times now. Sourcebits is awesome. They're building the crowdfunding app that we're going to use at the Launch Festival March 4th, 5th, and 6th. Go to festival.launch.co or go to launch.co and click on the festival. Anyway, they make great, beautiful, well-designed apps for iOS. They're a Sequoia-backed company, and they do a great job. And they did a great job for Louis Hervella. Louis, are you there?
Yes. Hello, Jason. Thank you for having me here.
Of course. So tell me, you use Sourcebits to build this lovely app, Instaplayer, which I have here. I can pull up my iPad, and I see bulldogs and all kinds of stuff flying around in here. Look at that beautiful bulldog. What is the use case here for this Instaplayer that you made?
Well, it's basically an animated Instagram wall of photos, and it's great for events, parties, anything in the service industry, because you can have it on your iPhone or iPad and transfer it to the Apple TV. Then you tell all your guests a specific hashtag, And every single person that takes a photo using Instagram, they will see live how their photo appears on the big screen TV on any type of event.
That's really clever. And then you have this Insta remote. You can transfer your iOS device into a wireless remote, project your photos on an Apple TV-enabled screen, and use Insta to customize the entire social experience. So that's your upsell. And music is the other upsell. So you can buy that for 99 cents. So it's like a freemium.
Yeah, it's a freemium. You can also select locations. We have the Foursquare API as well. So,
This
for example,
a good idea. And now,
Yeah.
have you had I could see this in a bar or a restaurant,
Even reminds me
onto
of
a
color.
TV. It is in a way like color, like, what's
early
yeah.
version.
But I mean, what's really interesting about this, if I had a bar, I would just put a huge hashtag there that said like pound, Jason's place. And then anybody who came would actually see their photos coming up there. It'd be like
That'd
a
be
really cool
Yeah.
thing. You put it in the front window and people say, hey, everybody's having a good time, getting drunk. Like that's fun. This is a very good idea. You have people using it for what, events or for locations, Louis?
yeah, that's what we're targeting from for any type of conference, event, parties. We've actually seen people that don't have Instagram accounts, and when they see Instaplayer on the Apple TV, they download Instagram on the spot. They create an account just to see their photo be printed live. So it's a great call to action as well.
And you're a fan of the show? Or you describe yourself as
Yeah.
a super fan of This Week in Startups, or just a fan?
I'm a big fan. Actually,
I think big's between super and regular fan. Okay, you're a big fan. I can accept that from you.
no, but actually inside Instaplayer, because besides Sourcebits, the terms of service that are inside Instaplayer are done by Snap terms as well.
Hey, that's the next advertiser. This is fantastic. This is why I love my fans. They're so loyal. But you know what? I am so loyal to my fans. Where are you based?
I'm in Mexico City.
All right, Louis, here's what we're going to do. You come up to the launch festival. I give you some space. You get a bunch of free tickets. And you get yourself a projector. And Kieran will find a wall. Get this guy a wall. The hashtag will be pound launched 2013. Or just, pound 2013.
Yeah.
And you do this at the event, okay?
I love the idea. Thank
Great.
you, Jason.
All right, good. I can't pay for your hotel or your flight, so that's it. The people
that's
try to
fine.
take it a little too far. They're like, hey, you're rich. Go get me a flight and fly me in. I usually have people tell me this. I'm like, I'll give you a free ticket in a booth. Like, oh, great. You're going to fly me in too? I'm like, oh, of course. I'll send the Inside.com private jet to pick you up, Louis. No, you're on your own,
I'll
Louis.
take it. Okay.
You're traveling, your hotel's your own business. Get on Airbnb, get yourself a couch. Louis, you're coming to the launch conference. You're going to show this off there. And maybe if you have some new features, you get on the main stage. Somebody like Don Dodge will come or Bill Lee, or somebody will anoint you like the genius you are, and with your new features, you get on stage.
Okay. Thank you.
And what do you do? Just type in Instaplayer on
the App Store, yeah.
Yeah,
Just type
Instaplayer, everybody.
Instaplayer.
Go check out Instaplayer. Good job. Good job, Louis.
Thank you, Jason.
You have a favorite guest or episode?
Yeah, Chris Sacca is my favorite.
Because everybody says that. I'm going to have to rephrase this question. Do you have a favorite episode after Chris Sacca is the new question?
Yes, Jason Goldberg. I really like
fab.
that.
He brought it.
He really
Yeah.
brought it. One of my favorites.
He brought it. It was brung. And you know who gets credit for all that? Me for doing a brilliant interview. No, you know who gets credit for that? Karen for booking amazing guests. And Brandis
Great.
for carrying a sugar ton. God, I almost got my first curse word of the year, and I have no cash on me. A sugar ton of equipment. Man, she is like...
She can do everything.
She's a warrior, that Brandis. She had lights and things and carrying stuff, and just like she gets up at 6 a.m. I like her. She's a warrior. She's my kind of people.
Awesome.
All right, Louis, get on with your day. Enjoy your weekend. I'll see you at the event. All right.
Okay, I see you.
Ben
Jason.
Parr, James Altucher. Where are my guys at? Ben Parr. Ben Parr and I are becoming like we're kind of like path friends now, right, Ben?
We are path friends. I get to see all your fun path posts.
And it's pretty great to see my path posts, is it not? I'm a good pather.
I'd give you a 7.5 out of 10. You got some more work to do.
All right, I'm going to keep working. But you also are a great one. And you're a serial entrepreneur, of course. Some of the projects you've worked on include?
So I have a fund, DominateFund, invest in early stage companies. I am a columnist and commentator for CNET. I'm probably best known for being the former editor of Mashable, and I have a few other surprises.
Very good.
Coming
So
up this
you're
year, of course.
yet another. We should come up with a term for this. Yet another journalist turned angel.
An entrepreneur.
Yet another journalist, Yag,
A Jangel.
whatever the hell it is. Anyway, so a lot of folks, and famously, you left Mashable because you were getting paid too much money.
I wanted to do things other than write about what other people were doing.
Right. See, that's a very diplomatic way of saying it. But the inside story was
Exactly that.
he was getting he was so valuable that the founder of Mashable paid him so much money. Everybody resented Ben for getting paid so much money. Is that true? That's it. See, that's a yes. Okay, let's move on. Listen, welcome to the program.
I got nothing to say that.
How big is the Dominate Fund? Have you closed the fund yet, or is it like is there a size to it, or does anybody know, or what is it?
I'll leave it at this. Very soon there'll be some announcements regarding that.
Okay, yeah. I think
There'll
the general solicitation rules have changed. You can say if you're raising a fund now. That changed this summer. But anyway, okay. So you're gonna have a fund. You're getting a fund, whatever. And congratulations on that. And James Altucher, are you there?
Yes. Thanks for having me on the show again.
Wow, James. I feel like there he is. Thanks for combing your hair for the show. Put a little product in. I appreciate that, James.
I even shaved a little bit before coming on, so this was a big honor.
People can't see, but I am actually. I do this once in a while. You see that? That's actually a goatee going on there.
Oh, very impressive.
It's terrible. I do this to annoy my wife. She hates when I have the goatee.
I was going to say,
It's
now I
very
see
subtle.
it.
It's very subtle. But in another couple of days, it'll be really horrific, and it just drives my wife crazy. James, of course, is a commentator. You see him on CNBC. He writes all this great stuff. TechCrunch, other places he blogs. And a serial entrepreneur who got out of the entrepreneur. You just don't want to be an entrepreneur and build stuff anymore, right, James? Just too painful.
Yeah, I hate it with a passion. But I built and sold a couple of companies, and I'm invested in about 20 different companies right now.
How horrible is it running a company, honestly? When you look back on it, how, just compared to being an angel investor and commentator, just compare those two things for the audience.
Well, you feel a kind of fear deep down that you've never felt before and you hopefully will never feel again. It's like this feeling that you could die if the day's events don't work out exactly how you need them to work out. And everything needs to juggle exactly in place or else you die. So I hate that feeling.
I agree. It's like being... See, if Tyler was here, I mean, and rest in peace, Tyler. I don't know if anybody heard over the holiday, but Tyler was killed in a terrible accident in Sweden.
That's
terrible.
why
It was a terrible accident. He was at a rave and he was dancing with 7 women and his head exploded. But rest in peace, Tyler. But it's like a Tyler insight here. It's like it's like Ben Affleck in Argo, like going through, trying to get out of Iran. It's like, that's what I like about James. He's so honest. Entrepreneurship, you have to thread the needle perfectly every day or everything absolutely comes apart at the seams. And it is like, and most entrepreneurs do not want to talk about fear or fear of failure or whatever. Like, it's constantly there. And like, you just have to, you're like, I'm walking down this road and, oh yeah, that's the 1,000-foot drop on this side. Oh, and on this side is like a 10-foot drop with spikes. Okay, so I can either fall to my death on this side and the fiery death or the spikes on this side. And every day it changes how you can die.
And the odds are you do fail. So you kind of have to keep going back at it until you don't fail by accident. And then you succeed.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, there you go, folks. This has been This Week in Startups. 1,000 reasons not to start a company. No, it is absolutely brutal, but it can be thrilling when you don't die. Let's do the first story, Karen.
All right. So I think our first story should be FTC closes its investigation of Google.
Yep.
And Google did not break any laws in regards to its search practices. So Google has said that it will provide all websites the option to keep their content out of Google's vertical search offerings while still having them appear in their general or organic results. Also, Google agreed that it would give online advertisers more flexibility to simultaneously manage ad campaigns on Google AdWords platform and on rival ad platforms. And also, they found some competitive behavior with regards to some of the Motorola patents, and they've agreed to change their behavior there. So bottom line, Google wins, Microsoft loses. So is there anybody else who wins or loses in this scenario? And I'm curious if you think Yelp, Kayak, others who are kind of peeved about the situation should respond.
What do you think, Ben? I mean, you've covered this stuff.
Well, for Google, it's a great result. I mean, anytime when the FTC doesn't go after your ass, it's a good result. It goes after you. It's a good result for them. They made a bunch of concessions, but I think what Google learned a lot from when Microsoft had to deal with the antitrust issues, and made sure that they did the lobbying and they spent a good amount of money lobbying to not have themselves get sued.
Yeah, was it $25 million last year they spent on lobbying?
That's what Politico was reporting, yeah.
That's a big number.
Right, and they were also trying to befriend certain regulators and the administration, and they specifically did not want to repeat that mistake of Microsoft.
Yeah. It does seem like they learned that. James, what's your take on it?
I sort of feel like the human race loses with issues like this. Like, just the way this is worded, like the FTC closes its investigation, I feel like I'm watching Homeland and Google, some sort of terrorist trying to rape all their users, when the reality is this is capitalism. Like, they should just shut down the FTC. Of course Google wasn't guilty of anything. Why would Yelp, who's banging the drums on this, why would they even complain? They're first on my search results whenever I search for restaurants. Like, this whole thing was just a complete non-event, and Google had to spend $25 million and waste their time rather than improving their product. So, fortunately, nothing happened, which is what I expected.
It does feel like, I have a lot of inside information on this, and I was asked to get involved in the anti-Google train because obviously Mahalo, my startup, was crushed in the SEO stuff, and I declined because, number one, I don't want my whole career to be me testifying like sour grapes. I feel like I'm a little bit better of an entrepreneur to sit there like a loser and be like, I lost my search ranking. Mwah. I'd rather just fight through it and find another beach to surf in. But I do think Google had some bad behavior and they're bad communicators. And I think that they're becoming better communicators. But they did do some bad things, James. Like, they were scraping the content from Yelp, using it in their review system, and then pushing Yelp down the page and putting their stuff on top. Now, that was uncouth, and they did a lot of bad behavior after Yelp wouldn't sell to them. So it was particularly vindictive. In the same way, Steve Jobs was vindictive when he called people up and said, I want to buy your company. If you call anybody and ask for a competitive offer, my offer's off the table, right? Like savvy, hardcore negotiations. And if you want to be viewed as a bully in the space, which when you get big and you've won, you can start to look like, it can have very negative ramifications on you. So there is self-correcting processes here, which is Google started to look like a bully between Panda, which was unnecessarily harsh. They could have told people that was coming. They could have not made it as brutal to people. And, when you're scraping other people's content and you move them down the page, you have to be a little bit magnanimous. And I think Google is starting to learn how to do that. And with great power comes great responsibility. When you start bullying people, then the government starts taking a look. The truth is, anybody at any point in time can just type in Bing. And I've done that. And Bing's good. Bing's a great product. In fact, Bing's got some pieces that are better than Google. And so there's the market will self-correct. Go ahead, James or Ben.
Jason, how much do you think Google's changing their behavior is related to the FTC, or just in general they wanted to avoid this perception of them as a bully?
I think that being perceived as a bully, I would say it's kind of equal. You don't want to seem so heavy-handed that when you go to a party, everybody hates you, which I think is what's happening to Zuckerberg now. When he copied Poke, when they released Poke, I think people just look at that and go that's kind of lame. Why would I want to work at Facebook if they're just going to copy other startups?
I think that was a good point. I mean, you don't know what Facebook is planning and what they are working on, though, right now.
Yeah. Oh, that's like a little bit of...
who knows? There could be something interesting there.
I just think... But this also has taken a lot of their time and been a distraction for their stock price and their executives. So these investigations take a big toll on senior management.
And the European Union hasn't come out with it.
Yeah, and the European Union's a finer filter, so they might smack them down pretty hard.
And they said that this won't affect their decision-making process.
Of course not. Of course not. The Europeans are we're going to do our own thing. Ben, you have any other thoughts?
I really, with James, I really do think that there is a reason why the FTC did get involved. There were things that Google did which pushed the line some. You have to make sure that that there's not one company that goes over top. We do have to realize Google does have a tremendous amount of power, and you're right. great when you have great power, you have great responsibility. There's this kind of middle line that we have to make sure we toe. I'm usually generally a non-government interventionist in general, but every once in a while, at least the threat of the FTC can come if you're doing something truly anti-competitive, keeps things in line because you can go overboard.
I think somebody's got to address this issue as well of it's great for customers that there's all these free products out there, but there was this idea of like offering products for less cost than they're actually worth being anti-competitive.
Well, like Amazon.
Yeah, and it seems to me that Gmail is a product that they lose money on in order to make money in other places. So is that anti-competitive or is that just savvy? Like I was always wondering about that issue.
That's what I mean, Jason. Like, there's too many gray areas here. Even the issue of scraping, that's a copyright issue. It's not an FTC issue. So that's against the law if it's a copyright issue. So again, there's ways to avoid the gray areas that are outside of the FTC.
Yeah, and I think probably this will make Google behave better, if only because they just don't want to have this hanging over their head constantly. Like I can't go into complete details, but I know that a lot of things that they want to do at Google, this was an overhang. And they couldn't make a lot of decisions until this was clarified. And that's exactly what happened to Microsoft. It becomes this like cloud over your company, and so you just want to avoid it at all costs. And yeah, it doesn't make... I think that they needed to do this because Google was starting to just drift over to this sort of very aggressive tactics, and this just sort of made Google realize, like, okay, we might be getting too close to the line. But it probably is the right decision. And because I don't know that it should be illegal for Google. If Google wants to change their entire search engine eventually to just give answers, let's say, they just turn it into Quora. And they say, you know what, like organic search results don't work anymore. So when you search for something, we should just give you our version of a Wikipedia page, which is what they're doing now. And we shouldn't even send you to any website. If you type in Bob Dylan, we should just give you a bunch of Bob Dylan information, which was my original vision for Mahalo. But they're doing that now.
Well, you got to remember, Google tried that with Null, and Null was a complete failure. So just because Google is going to do something doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be destroying you, even if it has the power of its search engine behind it. There's plenty of examples of Google products that, despite all the advantages Google has, didn't pan out.
Yeah, but comparison shopping is one that's gotten absolutely dinged because they've been pulled out of the index because no indexing of like search results in search results was one of their positions. And just moving everything down the page, it might come to the point where when you look at a Google search page, there's only 2 organic results. The top 80% of the page is Google giving you content.
Or ads.
A YouTube video, ads, local, shopping, whatever. And then the first 2 results are like, okay, we failed to give you the answer. We're going to show you 2 other things. What if they buy Quora, where they build their own Quora and they figure it out this time? Like they had Google Answers for a while. What if they take a second stab at that and the first 3 or 4, things are on most results are just their version of Quora answering it? Then where does organic fit in? And then it's up to somebody else to say, you know what, organic search is better than Google just giving you an answer.
And then you start the cycle all over again?
And then everything just implodes and there's a rip in the universe. Hey, when we get back, we're going to talk a little bit about Apple and Waze. That's interesting. And the Google Inside Out attack on iOS. But before we do that, let me just take a break and thank SnapTerms. Everybody knows SnapTerms. We just heard about it from Luis. Who's that guy? Anyway, yeah, Luis from Instaplayer uses it. It's a great way to get your legal terms at an affordable price. Everybody's getting sued left and right for not having a terms of service, not having a privacy policy. And you know what? You can solve that in just under a week, simply and easily and effectively by going to SnapTerms and ordering one of their awesome competitively priced $149 to $499 for your terms of service. We use it here at This Weekend. You can see our legal terms, and they're like cute and fun. They do all that clever stuff by putting like little jokes in there to keep people entertained when they do it, but only $149. When you check out with the code TWiST, go to SnapTerms and check out with the code TWiST, you'll get a free NDA with your order. Funny, simple, affordable, fast. This will cost you thousands of dollars to do through a lawyer or a legal firm, maybe even $10,000 to go back and forth and back and forth. And you don't need to do that. You can reduce all that risky cost of litigation for $150, $300. Very simple. You get a bunch of edits to it, and they're just great folks over there. And as you can hear, a lot of the fans have started using them, saving money, and getting the protection they need. Get started right now by going to snapterms.com, snapterms.com, snapterms.com. Yeah, I'm an excellent driver. My dad lets me drive in the driveway. I'm going to do like a Rain Man thing for Snap Terms. Yeah, Snap Terms. Simple,
you want this to be
affordable.
like the Squarespace one?
Yeah, $149. Of course, $149 for Snap Terms. Okay, anyway, go to thisweekend.com/legal to see ours. They're funny. And go to Snap Terms. And thank at Snap Terms. You got to thank the sponsors on your Twitter accounts. That means a lot to them. Let's keep the show going. Thank you, Snap Terms.
All right. So this was the story that was and wasn't.
Yes.
The Apple rumors that it was going to acquire Waze, and then TechCrunch comes out with the story, and it even said in the story that there were rumors, but there were some numbers thrown around. Waze wanted $750 million. Apple was willing to do $500 million.
$750 million for Waze?
Well, the Apple was willing to pay $500 million, but then MG Siegler comes out and he says, wait, there is no story here. Apple and Waze talk, like companies talk, and there's nothing going on here. And then this morning, more reports, oh, by the way, there was a discussion, and Waze turned it down because they frankly wanted more money, but also
more than $750 million for Waze?
Also because they're trying to build a big company, right? They want to be independent. They kind of like doing the Dropbox thing, right? Because Steve Jobs, you remember, asked Drew Houston if he could buy Dropbox.
What do you think,
no.
Ben?
They wanted $1 billion. So,
yeah.
I mean, I have a lot of friends at Waze, and I love that company to death. And I think,
company's not worth $1 billion.
No, it's not worth $1 billion now. But the question is whether or not it could eventually be. And if that's the case, then, and I think it could be. And if that's the case, then it might be a smart move to keep it independent. Also, they're very independent-minded over at that Israeli company. I really, really think, though, if Apple does have the opportunity again, it makes sense. Like, Apple needs something to differentiate itself for Maps. Maps is just terrible. And without something like a Waze, especially Waze, they're never going to win against Google right now. It's embarrassing how bad Apple Maps is compared to
So what
Google.
you're saying is Waze is being offered 3 times as much as the company's worth, or so. I'm guessing it's like worth $100 million or $200 million.
Their last round valued them at $200 million.
Right. So I'm saying they're willing to pay 3 or 4 times as much as they're worth just to differentiate and stop Google Maps from infecting the iOS ecosystem, Ben.
I think the question is exactly how much was offered, and the answer is I don't know. I don't even think.
But let's say if they are offering, let's say $750 or something like that.
If they offered $750, they'd be silly not to take it. I don't think they were offered $750.
Okay,
but
so if they were offered $500, is the reason that Apple is offering that is because they've been so embarrassed by their map product?
I think it's a big reason. Yeah.
See, this is when you sell your company. A lot of times, selling your company, and I've had this discussion with people I've invested in, and just generally shooting the sugar with people. The person you want to sell your company to sometimes is the person whose company is failing the most in that vertical. As an example, when I sold Weblogs Inc. to AOL, everybody's like, you should have sold to Yahoo, you should have sold to News Corp, and there were some opportunities with some other players, but AOL needed us the most, which meant they were willing to pay the premium because they needed the assets more than other people. When Microsoft bought Yammer, people are like, why didn't Google buy Yammer? Well, Google thinks they could probably build it themselves. Why didn't Salesforce? Well, Salesforce built Chatter. They probably thought but Microsoft, they were behind in the consumer enterprise space. So if you're behind, you're willing to pay a premium. Waze should have taken the money. If it is in fact anything over $400 or $500 million, they should absolutely take the money.
Not try and build an independent company.
Of course not, because how defensible is Waze? There's nothing defensible about it. Dash was doing what they're doing with a physical hardware device years before they were. Years. I had the product. And RIM bought it. So, I mean, maybe they think that they've got these incredible patents, but there's nothing unique about a car sending its information back to a server to say how fast it's going. That was done by Dash.
That they've already got 20 million people using it.
Whatever, and look how quickly... you can get millions of people using other products. People are already using Google Maps. All Google Maps has to do is turn on that when you're using it in your car, it's sending real-time data. So Google should just add that feature right now. And then Waze is worth 0. This is stupid. What do you think?
James.
Well, think about what Apple's biggest acquisition in their history was. It was Next, and they bought that for less than $500 million. So, you don't really see Apple spending a lot of money for speculative VC-hyped acquisitions. I mean, their last kind of speculative acquisitions are Particle and Chomp. We don't know what the terms were, but they were certainly less than $100 million or $50 million. I've never seen Apple do a kind of crazy acquisition on a company with $1 million in revenues. Plus,
is that a mistake,
I don't think Waze
James?
competes with Google Maps.
Shouldn't Apple be taking more risk if they've got the largest hedge fund in the world with $120 billion in it, sitting there with no hope of ever figuring out how to spend it?
They probably should take more risk, but then there's the question of what they should take risk on. They don't want to be a Yahoo where you buy these enormous things that you then write down to zero on almost every single case years later. So they're taking their time. Waze is, why does Apple need to compete with Google Maps even? They're in the hardware business for the most part.
So they absolutely have to be competitive. The problem is if say they had never made Apple Maps, and a year down the line, Google says, we're going to yank it now. Now you have iOS with no mapping product of any kind, shape, or form, and it's all totally, completely screwed. So even like later on, Google could decide to pull Maps. And if Apple doesn't approve Apple Maps, it could force a switch over to Android because Maps is such a core fundamental part of the phone.
James, what do you think?
Yeah, but I'm not sure Waze competes with Google Maps, though. Like, I would then, I use Google Maps for all of my GPS-like functionality when I'm on the phone, but there's plenty of GPS functionality you can get from other providers as well. Google Maps doesn't have the monopoly on it, and, Apple failed building their own product. They could probably buy for a lot cheaper than $750 million. Don't forget, Google Maps buys a lot of their data from the companies that provide the government with mapping data. So it's
I think
like
Google is actually a client of Waze's. I had Diane Eisner, old friend of mine, on the program from Waze, and we taped some episodes from their offices. And she didn't say this exactly, but I have a feeling that Google buys some of that data for their traffic stuff and licenses it. But I have to say, I was addicted to Waze for a little while, and then I realized, the fact that I know there's traffic, it doesn't normally change my traffic behavior, at least on my commute. Because it's just always screwed up here in LA. And I find myself now I'm just I put on an audiobook from Audible and I'm just I don't really care about the traffic so much. It's only in an edge case.
It sucks.
Yeah, maybe if it's really horrific, 1 out of 10 times I'll open Waze on my way home. 1 out of 10 times. It used to be I just had it open the whole time. And then I realized this is really dangerous. Why am I looking at this thing instead of the road? And screw it, I'll just enjoy my ride home. It's if it takes 10 minutes or 30 minutes, it doesn't really affect my life that much, and I just rather get into my audiobook. But maybe people who have longer commutes, it's more valuable. But I think this might become a case where they, this might become one of those cases where Waze might actually regret, if the number is true. We don't know if the numbers are true, but if the number is true, then people might regret it.
And is there a company that Apple should buy? I mean, there's also
there's a zillion companies.
Foursquare.
My personal belief is Apple. I believe this is exactly what happened in the regular operating system business, which is Microsoft said up and down, we're not going to do application layer, we're doing the operating system, servers, etc. And then Microsoft Word, Lotus 123 gave way to Excel, WordPerfect gave way to Word. I believe Apple and Google and Microsoft are going to be in a dogfight for the next 5 years buying the top 50 apps, with the exception of maybe games. But even still, Microsoft has Xbox, and they made Halo to prove the platform out. So why wouldn't somebody buy Angry Birds and make it exclusive to their platform, right? If Windows really wanted to become, more dominant, if they bought Angry Birds for $5 billion and all the new episodes went there first and then went somewhere else 6 months later, and it was, maybe that would help.
You would buy a Windows phone?
I don't know if I'd buy a Windows phone, but it would be a great ad campaign. It might get some kids to buy more if Star Wars was exclusively available. Yeah. That kind of stuff does actually matter. Apps matter. So I think it's going to be a race to see who can buy the top 50 apps, especially dovetailing into the next story, which you should do.
Right, which is Google's inside-out attack of Apple is working. It's an interesting sort of trend piece looking at what happened over the last year. So in July, we got Chrome for iOS. Then we got the standalone YouTube app in September. October was Google Search. December was Google Maps. Google's recruiting iOS developers. Google Maps and YouTube are on top of the App Store. And then, of course, noting people like Liz Gaines, who makes a big deal about being neutral, but saying, look, I'm using Google apps because they work better.
Yeah. What do you guys think? Is this infecting them from the inside out working, James Altucher?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm a huge Apple fan. I have every iPad, the mini iPad, every iPhone, but I just got the Samsung Galaxy Note 2, and it's replaced all my other devices. All of them.
What? Wait, why is that better than an iPhone 5?
Oh, the bigger screen. So now I can actually surf the web. I can use it as a Kindle. I can watch videos. I could do everything I can do on my iPad.
Is it LTE? Is it LTE? Is it LTE?
It's LTE on every network, every provider. So what do you need the iPad or the iPad Mini for? Or the iPhone,
do you feel like a
iPhone 5
dork
is
having a phone that's the size of a serving tray? Let me ask that.
Say that again?
Do you feel like a dork having a phone that's the size of a serving tray? I mean, that feels like you're going to bring me an omelet on it.
I use Bluetooth, so I'm just wearing the headphones.
But look at the size of that phone. Hold that up a second.
Yeah,
put it in front of your face. Put it in front of you. Put it in front of your face for a second. In front of your face. Block your face. Look, the thing's bigger than its goddamn head, with the exception of the afro. I mean, it's unbelievable how large that is.
It's 5.5 inches diagonal, and it's no problem, really.
Wait. Do you have your iPad Mini there?
Carry any other device.
Do you have an iPad Mini with you? Let me see it next to the iPad Mini.
Okay,
that phone is too goddamn big. Yeah. Okay, Ben, what do you think? You're an iPhone user, obviously.
Yes. I mean, let's see. On my phone, I got Gmail. I got Google Maps. I have YouTube. I have Drive.
What about Chrome versus Safari? Which do you use?
Oh, let's see right here. Oh, look, there's Chrome.
Yeah, see, this is exactly the pattern.
Okay.
I mean, Chrome is...
iPad Mini.
All right, let's see.
And phone.
All right, put the Mini in front of your face.
Oh.
All right, now put the Samsung.
Oh.
See, look at this. It's basically the same size. Everything but the Afro.
This is a phone, though. I can't make phone calls with this. This looks stupid. Okay?
You can with that new Facebook thing.
Hey, look, you know what? Hold on a second. I'm gonna make the phone ringing sound, and then you answer the phone with each device. Okay, that looks stupid. Now watch this. That also looks stupid. Tilt it. Tilt it.
You know,
Tilt it a little bit. That thing is huge. Look at the size. You're telling me you're at a restaurant and you take out something that's the size of a hardcover book and put it to the side of your head?
Here's the thing. I don't care how I look.
Apparently.
Pretty clear.
Yeah, that's very clear.
But this fits in my shirt pocket, fits in my pocket, fits in the coat pocket. I don't need anything else. I don't even need to shower for a couple of weeks if I've got...
I heard that actually has the best camera, though. That does have the best camera, right?
Has a good camera, and the battery lasts like 18 hours practically. Like it's
that camera's so good, actually. I understand. Hold the camera up for a second, like you're taking a photo. Yeah, hold it up like you're taking a movie. Right. See, I think actually Peter Jackson used that to do The Hobbit in 48 frames per second. That's what I heard. It's like the red camera now. No, this thing is huge. I was just on vacation, and somebody I know had one of these, and every time they took it out, everybody at the table laughed at them. And they're like... Wait, are you really going to make a phone? And they're making a phone call on it, and it's like this. They're making a phone call like this.
Should that really make you decide not to get the phone? If it has the actual
yeah, being ridiculed?
Yes. Jason is very aware of how he looks. Let's be honest.
Being ridiculed for your phone, yes.
Yeah,
this
if I
thing is
carry
not
a heavy like iPad and an iPhone 5, now I just carry this around in my shirt pocket.
Yeah, see, go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, I'm saying you're thinking of this thing as a utility. It is a utility, but for the new generation, for all this is also a fashion statement. It's a fashion statement when you have like a giant thing across your head versus like a small, like a sleeker phone. That's why you don't see Apple doing phones that are 15 inches wide.
Yeah, it's just so dorky. It's so dorky. I don't think these big phones are ever going to take off.
But if the right person or the right people started using them and made them cool, kids would change their mind.
No, because you know what? The right people are going to like...
is good enough.
You know who carries one of those phones like that? The giant one is Hideo from The Funded. And he takes it out, and he takes this huge giant, like, was it the Note?
Yeah.
The Note is the other one that's slightly bigger than the S2. He takes out the Note, and he makes a phone call on it. And I was like, everybody at the table is like this. Oh, so embarrassing. So embarrassing. It's like somebody taking out their iPad and making a Skype call in the middle of dinner or something. I don't know. But anyway, this inside-out thing is absolutely real. Chrome is spanking Safari. Gmail trounces. The new Gmail app is extraordinary. It trounces the Mail app on Apple.
So does Apple just need to make better software?
YouTube trounces the lack of a Apple video competitor, obviously, because that's just, there's no alternative. Maps, I'll be honest, I like Apple Maps. I think, the problems with Apple Maps are typically edge cases. It's a pretty horrific edge case when things don't work and you can't find your place. So I think that's overblown. So I don't know that people are going to be like, Google Maps is that much better than Apple Maps, that like mom or your cousin's going to change it. But I do think the email, like Gmail, people are going to use Gmail. And this is why I think Apple has to, if they're going to maintain this hardware lead, as the hardware is starting to get better on other phones and the software is starting to get better on other phones, this means Apple could have a problem. Apple has to go out, and they should have bought Sparrow when they could. They should have bought Waze when they could. They need to go buy this, and they need to buy a Dolphin browser. They need to open up, because it's starting to get annoying that like Chrome is like so much more fluid and easier to use, and Safari, they're always locking it down. Like there's no plug-in architecture. The Flash thing, like all these things all these chickens are coming home to roost now with Apple, and they're going to be their Achilles heel. They have to buy the top 50 apps out there and make an app team internally that makes all these best-of-breed apps.
The ones they have got to get better.
Like, look at the stock one. The stock one is terrible. I have stock. The stocks has not changed in years. Go ahead, Ben. What are you showing there?
I'm showing that you realize like 3 of the top 10 apps are Google.
That's $10. That was an F-bomb. Thank you. You inaugurated the tip jar. Yum, yum.
Thanks,
Ben. $10. No, you're right. It's infecting, and it's going to get worse for Apple. And it's got to be like, if you're on the Apple campus and when you pull up the top 100 apps and you just see 6 of them are from Google, that's got to be infuriating. What would Steve Jobs do if he was alive, Ben, right now? And he saw that.
He would get people to build better apps over at Apple. It is what they must do. They need to make them better. They're just behind. At the beginning, there were no competitors, so it's fine what they had. But we are replacing our calendars and all with other apps. They need to fix that.
What do you think? Is this a big deal or not, James Altucher?
It's not just the apps. The problem is, for the first time, the hardware has competitors. Nothing competed with the iPhone before. Now there's actual competitors.
Right.
Even if you don't like the Note, the S3, or any of the HTC phones, these are viable competitors.
Yeah, the HTC phone is supposed to be extraordinary. GDGT gave it a crazy score. It's only available on one provider, I think. I'm not sure which one, but that new HTC people are going crazy for. This S2 people
they needed a hit because they were.
Yeah, the S2 people are in love with. People who have that can't shut up about that stupid thing, even though it looks dorky. And think about it this way: I'm an iPhone user, and I start using Google Maps. I start using Gmail. I start using Chrome. I get educated on all that. And if they start fixing, like they started to fix the operating system problems in Android, like updating and stuff like that, and the hardware gets so much better, then you're going to look at it and be like, okay, I can get an iPhone and pay $200 more, or I can pay $200 less. I'm using the same apps.
Why should I buy the iPhone?
And the HTC has, a couple of more megapixels, a couple of hours of battery life better, and it's $200 less. Like, I think some people might start making that decision. And the apps will be a reason for it. And I think it's a particularly brilliant strategy on Google's part. And keep this in mind, just 2 years ago or a year ago, we were talking about Google search being disintermediated by apps. So I'm going to go to Yelp instead of going to Google and searching for a restaurant. I'm going to do this. This is pretty savvy. But they turned off the Zagat app, which is stupid. I guess they must be making a new Zagat app to face. Let's do the next story.
Okay, so we had 2 interesting acquisitions this week. One was Al Jazeera buying Current TV. So we'll start with that one. It's going to be a new channel, Al Jazeera America, and they're going to invest significantly in new programming. Now, Al Gore, of course, we know, co-founded Current TV back in 2005. The idea then was to focus on user-generated content. Never got much traction. They did change direction about 2 years ago, bringing on some more personalities. Now, of course, Time Warner freaked out and said, we're going to drop you. Reuters had a source saying no one wanted to carry Current TV, and they want to carry an Al Jazeera channel even less. Now, it's interesting to note that during the Arab Spring, 60% of Al Jazeera English's online viewership came from within the U.S. So there is an audience. And the guy who was one of the early members of this team for Current TV said Gore's initial vision has come true in ways large and small, and he's wondering...
Steve Rosenbaum?
Steve Rosenbaum.
Yeah,
and he
great
says,
guy.
how do we find themes, knowledge, and wisdom in the flood of unfiltered information? And I just read this morning that Al Gore did go behind the scenes before this deal got announced to make sure that the cable providers who were running Current wouldn't drop it once they went to Al Jazeera, and he's Al Gore and he can do that. So, was Current just ahead of its time?
James?
You know, I think this was a reasonable deal. Basically, Al Jazeera is paying $15 for per potential user, per potential viewer on the cable systems, and they break into America. They're already broadcasting in the UK. They have a huge audience around the world, Al Jazeera English, and they're not going to be any more biased than any other, news organization in the US. So, I think it's thank God Al Gore got out of Current TV for him. I mean, it was a horrible company other than the fact that he got all these cable deals.
What do you think, Ben?
I agree. It makes sense for Al Jazeera. And Al Jazeera, like, its content has been quite good. I've been on there several times. I've seen it. And Current just wasn't performing at all. They paid for access. They might keep a few of the people and talent, but really it's all about getting that cable access. And none of the cable providers really want to play ball. And it seems like the Time Warner thing bites, but they got a good deal out of it, I think, if they can get a good channel out of it.
What a disaster Current TV was. I mean, they did get incredible carriage on this thing, which is amazing, but they had such good ideas of allowing crowdsourcing or new voices. Right. Essentially what YouTube is doing right now is what his original vision was, but he didn't stick with it. And now I got to tell you... Go ahead.
Sorry, Jason. I think that underlines how bad cable TV is in general, though. Like, YouTube is the new cable TV.
Yeah. What YouTube needs to do right now is buy a cable channel. YouTube should have bought Current for $400 million and just put the best of YouTube on there and said, 9 o'clock is going to be vloggers, 10 o'clock is going to be action sports, 11 o'clock is going to be video game, 11 till 4 in the morning is going to be video games, 5 a.m. is going to be yoga and working out, 6 a.m. is going to be 7 a.m. I tell you right now, I guarantee you, I'll make a long bet with one of these gentlemen or you. First sushi lunch, capped out at $200, that YouTube will buy a cable channel in the next 3 years. Who wants a long bet?
I will take the other side of that bet.
All right.
I will also take that bet.
All right, $200 limit. That's $400 on the books.
On that bet.
$200 limit per person. No, $200 limit overall. Sushi lunch on the books. We need to get a running gambling going. We have to come up with a gambling every episode. The bets.
There's got to be a bet every episode now.
Every news episode, there needs to be a bet, a long bet. I want to get to $10,000 in sushi lunch bets.
So we need to brief the guests ahead of time that they're going to be asked to gamble.
To
with
gamble,
you.
yeah.
Okay.
It's a prerequisite. That should to really help when Cara Swish is on the show.
I'm sure she'll love that.
She'll love it. Yeah. No, she wouldn't do it.
Of course not.
Cara.
Well, Jason, what's the ratings on Tosh.0? That's basically YouTube videos for the whole show.
Exactly. Those things are doing incredible. And you know what? All these young people are watching YouTube. They would love to watch it on their big screen TV or show their parents or watch it at a party. People would go to the YouTube channel just to discover new interesting stuff. Because let's face it, the stuff Current was doing was interesting. There wasn't a filtering system. I would go to it and 1 out of 10 times it'd be interesting. And the other 9 out of 10 times it'd be sad. But there was that interesting moment. They had to figure out a better way of curating it. And YouTube has figured out curation, which is Anyway, listen, I think they're going to do it. And, I just think Current could have been something so unique. I think this is one of those things of some combination of too early and bad execution.
So who should they have brought on board to make it better?
I think that what they did was they gave up on the original vision too soon, and then they started bringing in this rotating Gavin Newsom or Elliot Spitzer. I mean, the Young Turks is good. Jank is good. I like the Young Turks, and that's a very YouTube-y kind of show. But Jank is good from but they just had this rotate. Who was the other guy they brought in?
They had Jennifer Granholm, former
Oberman was on it.
Governor of Michigan.
Yeah, Oberman.
Yeah, Keith Olbermann, they couldn't keep it. That's to me, when they got Keith Olbermann, they were just going with okay, we're going to follow. What was Keith Olbermann on, MSNBC before that or something?
Yeah, so everyone who was fired from other networks got on Current TV. Yeah,
Jank was left. I guess Jank was on MSNBC. So it just became okay, well, let's do, if you're chasing the cast off of MSNBC, I don't think that's going to be a sustainable business. Right?
I mean, unless it's somebody who you think has enough of a following that they'll come and watch your.
They should have been
channel.
going to the internet and pulling people up from the internet onto current, as opposed to going. Like, why didn't they come to us and say, like, hey, can you do This Week in Startups on TV, or do it like a version of that? Why didn't they go to Kevin Rose and say, hey, can you do Dignation on there? Like, if they had done that strategy, hey, Leo Laporte, we'll give you a slot. Hey, this person, we'll give you a slot. Hey, Tosh, we'll give you a slot. That would have been compelling. Use the internet as this is what somebody will get right. Use the internet as a farm league. Distill it down to the best people, put them on there, and be the place of fresh, new faces. You want to get this groundswell people onto the internet, not take the people who can't cut it on the network television and then give them onto the channel.
I like this, Jason. Let's start a cable channel.
If anybody's got a cable out there, you know what I'm looking for. Actually, I was just thinking about it over my break. I want to sit in for somebody and do a week of shows.
You want to do like a tryout thing?
I want to do a tryout thing, just for like 1 week, and just see how I like it.
Who do you think would let you try out?
I like somebody like when Howard Stern's off for a week, or when
you might be dreaming there.
Whatever, whoever's off for a week, takes a vacation, like on Sirius Radio or a local channel, San Francisco Radio, New York. I don't care what it is. Just give me drive time for a week.
You drive time for a week? People would kill themselves.
What do you mean kill themselves? Because they'd be so enamored with the content that they would be flipping their cars. No, I would like to do drive time radio for a week, just for fun. I'll pay for the slot.
Let's buy a half hour of time on like the Fox Business Channel at 2 a.m.
No.
Actually, program that at an hour or two.
No, too lame. I want drive time. Somebody who's got a connection in Clearwire, Clear
Channel.
Clear Channel. Some Clear Channel I was about to say Clear Channel D-bag, but some Clear Channel senior executive. Somebody knows a senior executive of one of those Clear Channel or Sirius. Like, let me have a slot for just a week, and let's just see what happens. I guarantee you it would be overwhelming success.
What would you talk about?
Just everything. I'll talk about whatever. The tragedy of the shooting and gun control. I'll talk about that. I'll talk about entrepreneurship. I'll talk about the stock market. I'll get people like Ben and James. I'll just talk about normal topics. I have all these really great contributors, right? So if I pull James or Saka or whoever, Ben, you pull some of those people in and just talk about things outside of technology as well as technology, because everything's circling around that anyway. Let's do the next story.
All right. So the other acquisition this week was Avis Budget Group acquiring Zipcar for $500 million. Zipcar had 760,000 members, 10,000 plus vehicles in 20 metro areas, U.S., Canada, and Europe. Now, Avis is expecting to generate $50 million to $70 million in annual synergies with this deal. Zipcar IPO'd in April 2011, and at the time it was worth about $1.2 billion. Cash on hand at the end of September, Wall Street Journal reported was about $65 million. It borrowed $97 million to finance its cars. The Journal said Zipcar was a great idea, but not just much of a public company. Sometimes the small, precious thing really is better in large, if in delicate hands. So now we know Ohm came out yesterday, and he thinks Avis is going to ruin Zipcar. Do you agree with him?
Of course they are.
Are there similar startups that fall into this category of great idea, bad public company?
Of course, there's plenty of people who have gone public. They're too small. It doesn't grow fast enough, and people.
Like more recent ones.
Pandora, I guess people have been very skeptical of. Zynga, Groupon. Yeah, a lot of these folks. But I mean, those stories haven't been told yet. But I guess the question is, do you guys think they'll destroy this, and did they buy it to destroy it? I guess would be my question as a cynic.
I personally think this was like the best acquisition ever. Like, Zipcar is the dream come true. You just walk outside your apartment and you use your card and you walk into a car and you drive off, rather than all the BS that Avis makes you do, signing contracts, and then you got to find a car, and it's impossible. So potentially Avis can really do this to replace their entire fleets or their entire workforce in airports, hotels, and so on. I think this could be a huge win for Avis if they don't destroy the culture.
Ben?
He absolutely agree. It's a great acquisition, and the price was a good price for them because the price had gone down, and it's a great service. But I just don't trust Avis at all. They're going to. I hope their best shot is to keep it independent subsidiary, but I think they will find a way to muddle it up.
Yeah, see, I think that these things like Zipcar were cutting into the profitability of things like Avis and Hertz. Yeah, but I think it was specifically cutting into profitability because people who live in cities need a car 2 or 3 times a year, 4 or 5 times a year, and this was seriously making a dent in it. It was also creating additional demand because if something is so cheap and so easy, you will use it more. The same way Uber, unleashed new demand, and the same way Airbnb created more demand. I think that this created more demand, but I think it also took like some of that really profitable, found money, which is like, oh, these aren't tourists. These are people who live in the city. Like, we can just count on them for a couple of rentals a month.
I used Zipcar, and I had like 5 or 6 of them in my neighborhood in Washington, D.C., and it was very convenient. But the other side of that was, if you needed a car for a weekend, it still wasn't the right thing to do. You'd have to go to a traditional place. And
so it's too expensive to do on that basis?
You could do it for a full day, and then you'd pay like $80 for the day. So you always had to have it back within the day. So if you wanted a weekend rental, it still didn't work. But it was great for the short trips around town.
Like what, like under 4 hours?
Or you need to go pick up somebody from the airport.
$10?
It depended on the car. Some of the cars were $7 an hour. Some of them were as much as $11 or $12 an hour. And that was the other thing. If you wanted to just go ride about in a BMW for a couple hours, you could do that. You didn't have to worry about buying
picking
it.
Somebody up from the airport, it would normally be a $100 cab ride or something. You could get a car for $20 or $15 and go pick them up.
Right.
That's pretty dope.
Especially if it's a out of town guest, you want to you don't want them to haul their luggage on the metro and things like that.
Interesting. Yeah, they'll screw it up. I'm going to agree with everybody. Who wants to bet a sushi lunch? They won't screw it up.
I'm surprised Zipcar was so cheap. Really, like this was really. Out of all the ideas we're all talking about, like Zipcar was such a genius idea, and now it's gone. I feel a little sad.
I kind of feel like they didn't also, like it never took off in LA, right?
My God, when I moved here, the first thing I did is I said to Zipcar, hey, can you bring a car to Venice? That's the neighborhood where I live. And they're like, hey, tell your friends. And that's how we decide where to put a car. And I said, I have no friends here. I just moved here.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Make me take a half-hour bus ride to UCLA to get a car makes no sense.
Yeah, I kept hearing that over and over again. Like, I just think this whole idea of like everybody owning cars is so outdated. Like, there's so many cars. The underutilization of cars is phenomenal. It's like
they could have put them in my neighborhood, and I'm sure more people would have used them.
I think Get Around will be the next one. It'd be interesting to see what these collaborative consumption startups, what the outcome for them is, because Airbnb and Get Around and all this collaborative consumption, I don't know if the existing players can understand the gestalt of them enough to not ruin the cultures. Like, can you imagine Marriott or Sheraton or somebody like
owning
that, or
Airbnb?
Starwood, owning Airbnb?
Just wouldn't work.
I mean, that's sort of what we're seeing here, right? Like, Avis has bought. It's like this is the equivalent of Marriott buying Airbnb. How terrible would that be, Ben?
Oh, I'm having nightmares thinking about that one.
Yeah, it's just like, ugh, like it's just exactly what you don't want. Next story.
All right, so we all know Facebook has a messenger app. Well, this week they started testing in Canada anyway, the ability to actually make a call anywhere you have Wi-Fi or a data connection. If this does go well, they could roll it out to Android.
Wait. Facebook is going to provide calls like Skype?
Yes, through their Facebook Messenger app.
So they're basically
Why are they testing this out only in Canada?
Because they like to test in small markets before they roll something out. I mean, they've tested being able to pay for your ad
US,
in New Zealand and things like that.
New Zealand, Australia, and Canada are becoming and Ireland are becoming the places to test your English language app.
Sure. So if this works, they could roll it out more broadly. Now,
outside of, with Google's been offering this for years. Okay. Skype's exist for years. Like, this is just, who cares? There's another
Messenger is a very popular app. It's usually near the top of the Google Play Store and the App Store. So, there are
Google Messenger.
Facebook Messenger.
Facebook Messenger.
Yes.
But, there's a lot of issues. Like, will they offer voicemail? Will they offer call forwarding? I think, Skype and Google Voice are way ahead on feature sets here. I don't know if Facebook Voice can compete.
And I don't think people want to make calls, but you do have sort of your directory there. So a lot of times... I have never done this, but I think I perceive that a lot of times people, you guys can tell me if I'm right, will go to Facebook to get somebody's phone number who they know.
I've never used it that way.
Because I did have my...
I do that.
Because it seems like that's pretty accurate information. So I think that's probably what they're playing off of, is that Facebook, you generally have your phone number in there. So it'd be like one click to do it. But young people don't care about the phone anymore. Young people don't talk on the phone.
Exactly. They don't talk on the phone. It's like you clearly know that was built by adults, because adults care about phone calls. Kids don't do phone calls. They text, or they Instagram, or they Snapchat.
Or they what's the other one called? Voxer. Mm-hmm. Yeah, when is Facebook going to knock off Voxer? That would have been a better one to knock off than Snapchat. Voxer, that's what Apple should buy, is Voxer. That would be an incredible purchase. Apple buys Voxer. You know Voxer?
Yep. For how much, you think? As much as they need to.
This is the thing. It's like, as much as I criticized Zuckerberg for copying Poke, he probably is right in that just copying stuff like Bill Gates used to do is probably a pretty good strategy.
It worked with IE.
Yeah, so I mean, maybe Apple should just make a Voxer-like functionality into their Messenger. Like the Messenger keeps getting better and better. That's one thing that Apple's gotten right. You don't need to have the person's phone number. You can just have their email. They should put that Apple Messenger on BlackBerry, Windows, and Android. Like you can't use Apple Messenger only works on Apple products. That's where Apple needs to start changing their attitude. They need to be more open and let things like Apple Messenger be on other platforms before they get BlackBerry. Remember BlackBerry had BlackBerry Messenger? If they had made BlackBerry Messenger available on Android and iOS and on your desktop, man, BlackBerry people would not be giving up the service. They should have opened that up. What do you guys think?
Agreed. There's this like Google's the only one that really understands. You don't have to keep all your things on your proprietary platforms. Spread it out. It benefits. You get more data. You get more users. You get more goodwill. It all makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and why does Apple not make Android-based applications then? Why don't they make iPhoto for Android?
They should.
I mean,
they will never do it.
They'll never do it.
Never.
That's like a Steve Jobs legacy thing. He never wanted to be on other platforms. It's like, why would I make for another platform? Those other platforms are inferior. Why would I support an inferior product? Next story.
So if you're talking about mobile, the UK-based Canonical is launching a mobile version of Ubuntu. This is a Linux-based system. The Ubuntu phones look
great. Dave Weiner can buy a phone now.
early 2014.
Sorry, Dave. It's too easy.
Now, Canonical did say they're targeting two markets: the high-end superphone and the entry-level basic smartphone. The Verge did get to play with a preview version, and they said it has no home button. Everything's based on gestures. There's no lock screen. You swipe in from the edges to access content at any time. So, now there are people who are saying this could end up like Palm's WebOS or Nokia's Migo. It's going to take too long to get to market. What do you think?
I don't know. What do you think, James? DOA?
This is the worst idea on the planet. Like if I went outside and asked 1,000 people if you would buy an Ubuntu phone, first of all, 990 of them will have no idea what I'm talking about, and all 1,000 will say, no way, this is crazy. I'm happy with either Android or Apple. And I get that Android could be on top of the Linux and so on, but who cares? Who needs a Linux phone?
Ben?
It's all about the apps. Like, who's going to make apps for yet another very, very small OS? That there's a reason why it's become a two-horse race with the third horse, Microsoft, paying lots of money to get apps on his app store.
Yeah, I have to agree. It's the apps are the key issue. This might have some success as if Google starts to rein in the open source nature of Android and demand more from the Android community, which they seem to have started to do. Like, it's open, but not so open. Like, let's say Google wakes up one day and says, everybody has to be allowed to upgrade via Google Central Services, right? Like, so the operating system, in order to use it for free, you have to allow us to push changes, right? Or something like that. If that stuff starts happening, you might see like some of these Chinese or Indian or African,
cheap,
folks start using it and building off of
right.
it, right? But why does it not support Android apps? That's what I don't understand. Like, why wouldn't they make it?
They will support Android apps. They're going to fork off Android and support Android. But why go out of the way to have Linux? Linux is an appliance operating system, not really a mobile operating system.
Yeah, this is one of the things about people's phones and their tablets, I think, is they're less tolerant of experimentation because it's sort of so critical. Like, you're so dependent on Hotel Tonight or Uber or your flight changing or getting the movie times that you're not going to deal with nonsense on your phone, right? Like, I think that's what Google learned when Android came out was like, this is too buggy. Like, I got those first Android phones the first couple of years. I was like, this sucks.
Why would you
experience
depend on this?
Sucks. I cannot depend on this stupidity. And it's like syncing in the background and blowing out the battery and there's too many tasks, and people get a task manager and start closing processes. I'm like, what? Am I running a server farm or am I trying to get a movie time? I don't want to close processes on my goddamn phone. Get a new task manager. So shouldn't the task manager be there? I felt like I was using DOS. I mean, it was a horrible experience. And they corrected for that with Ice Cream Sandwich and Gingerbread and all these stupid named, Android updates.
Jelly Bean's pretty good.
Whatever. Jelly Bean, a lot of nonsense. You know, you can name it all kinds of cute, fun names, but if the experience still sucks ass,
The Jelly Bean experience is actually pretty nice.
it is getting better. I have to say, I got the Nexus 7. They gave me a free one, and it was like, yeah, this is pretty tight. It's getting better and better. I think that's Jelly Bean. I don't know.
It is Jelly Bean.
So anyway, next story.
All right, so we know
Let's do
you're
a speed round.
You're a fan of Zynga. They're shutting down or pulling from the App Store 11 games. This is part of the
Smart move.
cost reduction plan.
Smart move.
They still have about 30 titles on their various platforms. Now, the
focus on the winners.
stock price has been about $2.40 a share. It hasn't closed above $3, which is the price point where you bought since September 21st.
No problem. I'm going to sell it at 7.
So what else does Mark need to do to turn the company's fortunes around?
They have to get into the mid-tier games. You know, although I have to say, I just got this Clash of Clans is like one of the, I saw it was the top-rated game or whatever, so I got it. And it's sort of like Farmville, but then they added to it like Age of Empire, so like it's a very creative, like you don't just build your farm, like you build your town, but then you go attack other people's towns, which I always said, like why doesn't We Rule allow you to like attack each other's towns and stuff like that? And somebody finally did that. It's a very compelling game. So I think if you can take the casual games and evolve them to the next level, which is like, you know, Plants vs. Zombies, Angry Birds, got a little more gameplay than just like I'm doing my farm. They could make a big run at it, and obviously paid gambling and that kind of stuff is going to explode as well. They just have to focus in on the winners. I think they got just too spread thin, and like one thing was working, these whales and virtual currency on Facebook. iOS is crushing it with, you know, people spending money. So Zynga just has to get iOS and Android savvy. And Androids, I mean, I looked at Mahalo's sales. We were making nothing in the Amazon store. And then over the holidays, we started making $250 a day off of our educational apps.
Got tablets
and I was
for
like, wait a
Christmas.
second. We went from making $25 a day in the Amazon store to $250. Like something happened over the holidays to go 10x. We didn't see that last Christmas, so I think Zynga's going to be fine. What do you guys think, Ben? What do you think? Zynga focusing, good, bad, otherwise?
It's good, but it's just proof that gaming is just a tough market. It's really tough. No matter how good of a game you build, eventually it's going to tail dive. Like the longest lasting game I can think of is EverQuest and World of Warcraft, and those now are finally especially World of Warcraft is finally diving down. Zynga's doing the right thing of cutting off the losers and trimming down the staff and trying to find the kind of games, the mobile games and the gambling games that will generate more revenue. But you're just never going to have Zynga back to where it was at IPO time. It's just never going to happen. I just don't see it.
It's certainly going to be a long, hard ride. They do have a lot of cash, so they could buy stuff. And I guess the question is, should they venture outside of gaming? Because there's so much other stuff, and they have such a talented staff, so much money. Like, it's almost like...
What should they make then?
Well, that's the question. Like, you know, if Zynga had the gaming, it's like they've got still, close to 100 million people using it every month. If they owned, for example, Evernote, or if they owned that paper, or they owned, let's say they bought Mahalo. We had all these, I'm not angling for a purchase because we're sort of going in a different direction, but let's say there was an educational app company out there doing kids games or other educational stuff. They could use that major foothold they are to start launching educational apps, right?
Do you see Zynga as an educational brand, though?
I could just see Zynga being like Microsoft or just like a software brand, like a label. And they could go into other things. Like if they're going to go into paid gambling, why not go into education as well and use the fact that they know how to get people to pay for stuff. They know how to make games. They know how to make them viral. Like they know all the blocking and tackling. Why limit themselves to gaming? If I was them, I would start doing productivity apps. I would start doing... other informative apps, like informational stuff, news, whatever. Why are they limiting themselves, James or Ben?
Well, I agree with you. They have $1.5 billion cash, so they're not going out of business. They're going to be here for a long time.
Forever.
It's a very smart stock purchase right here. Like there's almost no downside, and I think though we're underplaying the importance of gambling for Zynga. Like. If licensed poker gets legal in the United States, which is likely, and Zynga Poker is the largest mobile poker game, this alone is going to be worth $5 billion or a $10 stock price for them. So I
agree with
think
that.
the really casual games like poker, Words with Friends, and so on are going to be huge for Zynga.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a BFD, big freaking deal. What were you going to say, Ben?
I was going to agree. The gambling part could be a major winner. We will find out. They kind of really just depends on the U.S. government.
I also think, and I've said this before, knowing Mark personally, he's a never say die kind of guy. I think he's going to just, really. I think this kind of ass kicking that he's gotten for just knowing his character, he's the kind of guy who will fight through it and he will get it to where it needs to go. I'm actually thinking about buying more than just averaging down because it seems like we've hit the bottom of it. Nobody will push the stock lower. He's got all this cash. And we know that iOS is just continuing to grow. We know Android is continuing to grow. He's perfectly positioned to have a rebound. And the people coming in now are getting their stock options at $2.40 in a company with $1.5 billion and 100 million monthly users or whatever it is. Like, those people are going to see upside. So you may see all these people who had $14 or $12 or $10 options leaving, but that paves the way for these new people to come in and get their options. When those people leave...
They also have to be inspired. They want to join Zynga because it's building great stuff.
Right. And I think probably that's another major issue they have. So that's why I think maybe taking an open approach. If I was Mark, I'm not Mark, but if I was, I would go to my staff and say, everything's on the table. Everybody come up with great ideas. Let's hold a hackathon. You know, the quarterly stock, the stock price is going to be bouncing up and down. Let's not worry about that. I want everybody to come with their best idea. We're going to go away for the weekend, have a retreat. Everybody come up with your best idea. You've seen me do this here at this company. Everybody come back and give me your best ideas. Okay, everybody vote. What are the best ideas? Okay, we're going to approve 2 projects to be a skunk works and put them on the side with 10 people on each. Go. And that would inspire people. Like, hey, maybe they create Evernote. Maybe they create, Uber. Maybe they create Yelp or something. Who knows what they create? But there's so many ideas and so many smart people there and so many resources. Why not try some crazy stuff? It would also build back the reputation and make them more original. I think one of the things is the copycat nature of the gaming industry. I'm not saying the copycat nature of Zynga. The copycat nature of the gaming industry, like the movie industry, where people always copy the genres and copy each other. That's the kind of thing where it would be very unique for them to be coming out with their own ideas and something revolutionary and new and fun.
Like an Angry Birds.
Yeah, Angry Birds was unique. Yeah. It had a unique nature to it, right? So they just need to have a couple of those wins, and then people will start believing the story again. Right now, it's hard to believe the story. Next story.
Andrew Sullivan taking his 12-year-old blog subscription only. He's going to be charging $19.99 a year for an ad-free version of The Dish starting in February, but readers are allowed to pay more. Now, this is because his deal with The Daily Beast ended on December 31st.
Genius.
He did 2 pledge drives in his first 6 years, then partnerships with big media companies for the next 6 years, Time and then The Atlantic. And he said, here's the core principle. We want to create a place where readers and readers alone sustain the site. No bigger media companies will be subsidizing us. No venture capital will be sought to cushion our transition unless my savings count as venture capital. And most critically, no advertising will be getting in the way. Now, he reported that in the first 6 hours, he was well into 6 figures. He estimated about 1/3 of those were paying more than the minimum. So what do you give his chances for making this work, and are you impressed with his results so far?
Listen, Andrew Sullivan's awesome. He's a brilliant guy. I met him once at the Aspen Ideas Festival with Nick Denton. I really respect the guy. I think he's a really great blogger. He understands the medium. And this is the future, is independent folks going out and starting their own projects and making enough to have an amazing lifestyle. Like, Ben could have done this. Other people have done it. I've done it. I mean, you don't need to be part of something big and have all this stress. You can just go do your own thing, I'm not saying that to you, Kieran.
It's still stressful.
You couldn't do this. You need to work for me. But for other people, no, it's a different type of stress. You could do it, actually, at this point. So you can go make a go of it. And bravo to him. And I think it's he's got some pretty cool company that's doing Tiny something, is doing the technology behind it. Somebody can look it up. But I think as the tools come out to make this viable, like a Tiny Letter or Tiny Chat, I don't know what it is, Tiny something, allows you to, with your WordPress or whatever, and they show the first 3 paragraphs, and then you can...
Or he's calling it a leaky meter, so there'd be ways to get around it if you want to, but...
Yeah, so if you're that incented to go do it, just like the New York Times, and the New York Times thing is working, which I knew it would. Of course it's going to work. People will pay. Yeah, and I'm going to pay for it at some point. I think it's brilliant. What do you guys think?
Good job. Good job, Tom.
I think it's amazing. I mean, in the sense that, and you saw this with Louis C.K. too. He didn't wait for HBO to distribute his latest hour of comedy. He just put it on his website and sold it direct. You're going to see that more and more, where we don't need the middleman of corporate America to come down from the sky and bless us to be successful. If we have our own platforms, we can create a success. Look what you're doing with this Twist. You're creating your own brand and your own platform. You didn't need ABC to say, Jason, do Twist for us. So that's what he's doing.
Interestingly enough, I literally turned down. I know people were asking me about this because I was talking about the. I was talking about doing a reality show, literally walked away from two. One was the people from Pilgrim Film. I don't care about saying their names. They're nice people. But one was Renegade. It's a pretty serious group of people. And I think they did Secret Millionaire and a bunch of other shows. And I walked away from the deal. Walked away.
Because
they didn't want to give me 50% ownership and final edit on the show. And I said, you know what? I'm not right for television then.
I don't need this.
Yeah. I said, I'm not going to have you. And they said, well, we don't do that, and we have to keep you happy, whatever. I said, you know what? I make $500,000 a year for my show. I got 5 people working on it. I have an audience who loves it. I'm not willing to compromise. That's it.
Right.
And you know what? Google TVs, Apple TVs come out. I'm going to be on the same footing as you guys. I don't need you. It'll be $500,000 now. It could be $5 million 5 years from now, the revenue from the show.
If you keep doing it.
If I keep doing it. And then this other group of people, Pilgrim Film and Television, came to me and said, hey, they do dirty jobs. They said, we want to do one with angel investors or whatever, And I said, great, I'll do it with you. How much? I want to own 50%. I want final edit. And you can follow me around as an angel invest. And they're like, well, we want to have like 2 or 3 angel investors, and we'll pay you $5,000 an episode. And I was like,
whatever.
You're going to pay me $5,000 an episode.
Nobody cares.
I paid $5,000 to see a flop at Chamat's game. $5,000. What are you, out of your mind? I want to own half the show. And they're like, what do you mean you want to own half the show? I was like Gordon Ramsay owns his show. That's what I want to do. And they're like, well, you're not Gordon Ramsay.
You're no good. Yeah.
And I said, hell, I ain't. Hell, I ain't. I got my own damn show. I don't need this nonsense. That's what I told them. Walked away. That's 11, by the way, for those of you counting them. 11 times reality TV people have come to me. BBC, everybody. No, because I love you guys.
You're
and doing
so
it
special, Jason.
No, it's not that I'm so special.
No,
It's that
you are.
It's like James is saying. These things are they're going to cross each other. This show now has 100,000 downloads per episode. MSNBC has like 100,000 people watching it at any point in time. What's the effing difference? It's all converging. It's all converging. And YouTube has a lot of tricks left up their sleeve. I'd rather align myself with YouTube than with the reality television companies who don't get it.
So this started with Andrew Sullivan and blogging. I don't know if...
Yeah, guys, what do you think? No, but it's which James just made the reference to, like this show.
Right.
Independent media is possible, right, James?
Exactly. It's not only possible; it's the only thing that's going to happen in the future. The rest are the corporate America is going to disappear.
Wait, expand that. Wait a second. Whoa. Wait a second. Explain what you mean.
Okay, broadcast television.
Yes.
What's the future of broadcast television? It's zero. All broadcast affiliates are going to zero. So that's the first. We've already seen it with the music labels, with the music stores. Anybody who's in the middle, all the book publishing companies, they're all dying because people could self-publish. People could self-express. People build their own platforms. And that's how you choose yourself. You don't wait for somebody else to choose you anymore.
I would bet 30 sushi dinners you are completely and totally wrong on this.
All right, long bet. Wait, long bet. How do we do this long bet? 10-year bet. 10-year bet.
I'll do a 1, 2, or 3 year bet.
Okay, on what? You can't say old TV is going to be gone because that means we're not going to see the last 3 seasons of Walking Dead. So that's out of the question.
All right, that might have to be a 10-year one then. I just think you're going to see revenues and earnings for these companies go down every single year for the next, 5
Well, that
to 10
is
years
happening.
until
We
they
are
disappear.
seeing that cable TV has got less and less subscribers. That is starting to happen. The
Cable
unbundling.
TV, record labels, and book publishers are the beginning.
So you want to make a 3-year bet that those three industries will have contracted? Is that right? Contracted?
Yeah, I'll do that.
Ben, you want to go sushi lunch 3 years? Those 3 businesses are smaller?
That's not the I'm making. I don't disagree with that one.
Okay.
They are going to get smaller, but only by little bits. They're going to be around 10, 20, 30 years from now.
Cable didn't kill radio.
Who
Radio's still
who
around.
watches broadcast news ever? Who
He's right.
buys a
He's right.
record in a CD store or whatever?
Yeah, no, I mean, you're right about that, but iTunes did replace it, and then people are watching Huffington Post, and now Huffington Post Live is coming, right? And I was talking to Ariana over the break, and like Huffington Post, like they're making serious bank for that live television stuff. So it is interesting. I think people will watch Huffington Post or Business Insider Live or This Week in Startups or This Week in Tech with Leo Laporte or whatever over, like watching cable news.
But if there's nobody telling you in some kind of nice fashion what to watch, then how do you know what to watch?
It's a great question.
Well,
I think that the audience tells you by moving up.
Anyway, Who told people to download Louis C.K.'s
Word of mouth.
latest hour?
Word of mouth, Twitter
Yeah,
followers,
word of
social
mouth.
media.
That's it.
Yeah, I agree.
He has his own platform.
All right, do the
And that's his media company.
All right, let's do the last story, which is the I want to do the Ashton Kutcher one.
All right, so we know Ashton Kutcher is starring in this Steve Jobs biopic called Jobs. It's going to debut at Sundance at the end of the month, and then it's going to be out and release in April. So this follows Jobs' life from 1971 through 2000, directed by Joshua Michael Stern. It's also got Dermot Mulroney, Josh Gad as Woz, Lucas Haas, J.K. Simmons, Matthew Modine. Now,
Matthew's in it?
Yeah,
my
your
boy.
buddy. Yeah, he's playing John Scully.
That's perfect.
So there was actually a promo photo that came out last month. It's in your notes.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
That shows the striking resemblance between Ashton and young Steve.
This is oh wow! I found the exact photo that was based on.
Look at that.
I have to say, I think Ashton Kutcher is going to crush it in this. I think this might be the role he was born, and I think that people might take him more seriously as I mean, obviously he's a tremendously successful comedic actor, one of the most successful of our time in television, and he deserves the credit for that. But I think this is going to break him out as a serious actor in like dramatic roles. If people, because he understands technology, he understands entrepreneurship, and I think his angel investing and his, hanging out with entrepreneurs gives him an ability to do a performance that other people can't do. Because he understands the struggle. He understands how hard it is. He understands the psyche. And, man, look at the resemblance. It's
scary.
almost scary. Like, if you were to look at the two photos quickly, you wouldn't be able to tell which one from which.
Nope.
I mean, hold on a second. Let me zoom this in here.
I mean, the only thing you can tell is that
one's a newer
color's
photo.
a little faded, yeah.
Yeah, they should have done the filter on that, but it's really amazing. I think it's going to be a great film. I honestly do. And Modine is a good cast.
Yep. And, I mean, do you think this is going to be maybe the beginning of a whole slew of movies, whatever, about Apple, Steve?
There is another Steve Jobs film coming.
Right, the Aaron Sorkin.
The Aaron Sorkin one. I think this one's going to be better. I think this one's going to be more heartfelt and soulful. I think the Aaron Sorkin's going to be like a bigger production or whatever. It might be a little sexier in a way. But I think that Ashton takes it seriously. Like, I think for him it's personal. Like, I think he really wants to play this role because he respects Steve, like, in a different way than, like, whoever's going to play in the other one. I don't know. I'm really looking forward to it. I think Ashton's going to crush it. He might get an Oscar nod for it. I know that sounds crazy, Ashton Kutcher to get like an Oscar nod, but I think he's going to nail it. I mean, he's going to get Emmys, right? The guy's probably, I don't know if Ashton Kutcher's got Emmys. I'm sure he does. But I mean, I think he could get an Oscar nod for something like this if he does, if he does the kind of performance I think he can do. I think it's the role he's, I think this is the role he's been waiting a lifetime to play. What do you guys think?
It's going to be just like Walter Isaacson's book. It's going to be a big hit. It just is. I think he's underrated sometimes as an actor. He's going to do a very good job with this, and I think it's just something people are very interested in. It's going to do well.
He did a Sundance film called Butterfly Effect. It was very good back in the day.
I saw that movie.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It was like a really good like sci-fi. Like it was a more serious role for him, but he's such a good comedic guy that. Sometimes it's hard to take him serious. Like in a way, like Bill Murray, like later in his career started doing like Razor's Edge
or like
Wolf was the flower one or whatever, Broken Flowers. They just started to do really interesting.
Adam Sandler trying to be more.
I thought Funny People was Adam Sandler's best film. I thought Adam Sandler's other films were dumb. Like I can't watch The Waterboy of that stupidity. Like, but Funny People, I've watched that film 5 times. I think
Jim Carrey making the move from.
Jim Carrey, Man in the Moon. That's an amazing performance. I love that. That's another film I've seen 5 times. I like when these comedic guys go serious and try to do something with a little more gravitas. What do you think, Jim? James, you excited?
Yeah, I'm excited for this one, but I'm also excited for the Sorkin one. So the interesting thing about this one is it's a more biography of Jobs, and the Sorkin one has only 3 scenes. And with Sorkin, there's going to be just tons of fast dialogue back and forth. So I think it's going to be a totally different movie and a different side of Jobs, and I think both will be interesting.
This has been an amazing program. Everybody follow James Altucher on Twitter. His Twitter handle is not in my show notes. What is it, James? It is there. It is. J Altucher. At J Altucher. I was looking for the link. At JALTUCHER Altucher. Everybody follow James Altucher. And read him on Business Insider and TechCrunch. Ben Parr is, of course, Ben Parr on Twitter, BenParr, benparr.com, and you can check out his new fund at Where?
Dominate Fund. We'll
Dominate.
be talking more about it soon.
And Dominate Fund, the name, Dominate. A wee bit aggressive, are we? What's the thinking there?
It comes from an old phrase that my partners and I have used for the last 4 or 5 years, that every day dominate. That's how we see it. Take every day and dominate it.
Love it. I love it. That's great. And I love it when a VC's name sort of indicates some sort of philosophy, like First Round Capital is like, or True Ventures, like both of those, it's sort of their philosophy. True wants to do something like very like honest and like, you know, that really works for users, I think is their idea behind True Ventures. Like this is truly a venture that, you know, is important. And First Round, like they get into the first round of deals. Yep. People say like, oh, that's what you do, first round. You do first rounds. It's like a very smart idea to like, in terms of branding. Like it was like if I named this show Be a Better Entrepreneur, right?
Why didn't you?
This is a stupid name. But I mean, I'm not saying that Dominate Fund is not a stupid name, but it does require that you explain it, or else it seems like. But I do like that idea. Like you got to fight hard and dominate. I like aggressive. Like, yeah.
What about Chris Sacca's lowercase capital? Somebody mentioned, Domain Noob mentioned that in the chat.
Yeah, lowercase.
That's just more funny.
Lowercase.
It's humble.
Lowercase capital.
I know. I just think that's something that somebody does after they've had 2 bottles of wine. Like, we can't come up with the name of our fund, so we've had 2 bottles of wine. It's like a capital. What type of capital? No, it's more like lowercase. Like, why should it be capitalized? We should lowercase it. Like, yeah, that's going to be the name, lowercase capital. Yeah, great, let's have another bottle. You know, like, that's how they came up with that name, I'm pretty sure. I think people were like 3 bottles in. Listen, this is a great event, and it's going to be a great 2013. Thanks to a tremendous team, Kieran, Brandis, Demont, Crute, and everybody for putting together yet another amazing episode. We're leveling up the guests on the show. Getting Ben was a great get. Ben is that's a good get for the show. James Altucher, we had him in our pocket. He loves coming on the show. But
is Ben going to be at the launch festival?
Of course, Ben's going to be at the launch festival. He's going to come. Sure. He's got a new fund.
I'll dance on
when
stage.
is your launch festival?
March 4th, 5th, and 6th, you're coming. We're having a hackathon. And you're an angel investor. Yeah, you should definitely be there, James. Well, I'll talk to you offline.
I'm actually in LA early February. I'll come on the show on the set.
Oh, that'd be great. Yes,
let me know when.
Let's lock that up. All right, everybody. Thank you, Snap Terms. Thank you to my friends at Sourcebits for helping my friends like Instaplayer build awesome product. And we will see you all next time. And no thanks to the reality film television people. Kill yourselves. We'll see you all next time on This Week in Startups.